I am a grandmother of a 5-year-old, almost 6-year-old. My
Yeah.
husband and I, second marriage though, so he's a step poppy, but he's a great step poppy most of the time. Anyhow, this little girl, we love her to death. She's our only grandchild of my only son. And we keep her 2 days a week while my son and his wife work. And we love every minute of it. But I can't decide, is it
Now
because it's
that's
that
an
old
example
number?
of what I was just talking about. If you love every minute of it, then that isn't she cute when she poops all over the walls or something. That's
Oh,
that's a
she's fine.
really
She doesn't do that anymore.
oh, that's true. Okay. That's really, really good that she
But,
didn't do that. All right. So anyway, that's great. Way to go, Grandma. I mean, I love, 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 love intergenerational ties, extended family, the fabric that used to hold this world together that's so broken down. Thank you for being involved in your grandkids' lives or life.
and we feel it. We feel it's a privilege. It's a blessing. But
That's so cool.
here's the little situation. She's always loved men. Just she's been that way. Her daddy, her poppy, her pappy. And I get that. But she can actually be mean, and it's usually to me. And then if she does something, if she does it around my son or if she does it around my husband, they'll go, "Oh, that's not nice." And everybody just moves on. Here's my thing. The original question was, am I being too sensitive? This is my bigger concern. I don't want her to become a mean girl. And we all know
That's
there are
right.
mean girls out there. And
That's right.
so she's not my child. How do I how do I kind of like stand up for myself and kind of pull the guys up by their bootstraps, or am I incorrect in thinking that should happen?
You are not incorrect in thinking that should happen at all. I mean, one of our responsibilities to children, and not only as parents, but also as teachers, as other authority figures, is to teach a child, look, the value is not you be good to some people and be mean to other people. The value is you respect all humans, all of them,
Right.
all of them.
Yep.
And
Including
I'll tell you
Granny.
another, and well, especially Grammy, she's sacrificing for you. Try that guilt trip. I'm not good. I slave over these brownies all day long, and you're gonna come. You're not gonna blah blah. So here's another one. I'll tell you, Sally, that kind of really drives me crazy. You see this in um, and a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times, narcissistic parents that idealize their kid, and their kid goes off to school, and the kid is, being snitty to somebody or not performing or something, and the school, they get corrected or they get, however they discipline them or whatever, and mama storms the school. How dare you?
Right.
Blah, blah, blah. And
Mm-hmm.
setting up a triangle like that in a kid's head where there's a persecutor and they're the victim and somebody's going to always come in and rescue them is to set them up in life for
Right.
horrible scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
Horrible scenarios. Now, there are sometimes when kids are not treated well, the parent has to step in and say, look, you're not going to treat my kid like that. But there are also very, very, very important reasons for teaching your children to respond to all authority figures, not just me. Very, very, very,
Right.
very important. So, yes, to answer your question, yes, there's very good reason. There's very, very, very good reasons, to do this. My my mama was very, very clear. She would say, now this is in the old days when um, when I went to school, it was not unusual at all to get paddled at school. I mean, that was just
Oh, I remember.
common.
I remember.
Oh,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
commonplace. And I remember my mother,
Mm-hmm.
she said this 1,000 times. Boy, you get a whipping at school, you can get two of them at home. So, she said, don't think you can go be bad over there. Anyway, I'm not suggesting you do that, parents. Anyway, okay, so Sally, we got three problems here. All right, you ready?
Uh-huh. Yep.
One problem is, I say problem, there's three things to address. One of them is Sally is a member of a larger team here in this child's life. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
there, there's Daddy. Now, Daddy's not with is. Do I remember you said they're divorced?
No. They're married. They both work.
They
And
both
I
work.
mean,
Okay.
they adore, yeah, they adore their daughter, probably a little too much. They feel bad because they both work.
Yeah. Okay. So this is a team, right? Now, everybody
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have the same role on the team. Everybody's not as important as everybody else on the team, but we're all involved in the kid's life. Okay. So what I would want to do is, and I'll just say this from your perspective because you're the one I'm talking to. I would want you um, to sit down with the parents and you know your husband and say, okay, guys, I sometimes I don't know quite what to do here because, and I think we ought to. I need to understand the rules of who's going to do what discipline and all of that. But I want us to all get on the same page. There are times when she does some, some whatever word you want to choose, some speaks to me in a way that I don't think we want her talking to anybody,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
because she's learning. This is time that you learn you got to be nice to people, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so sometimes when this has happened, you guys sort of shrug it off, but I need to have a different way, and I need for you guys to, we all get on the same page, and all of us say, that's not a nice thing to say. Try again, okay? Or
Okay.
that's not how we want you to talk to grandma or anybody. Try again, and then you have consequences that are laid out for that. I'm going to let you go sit in time out a little bit until you think about a better way to talk to grandma, and then you can come back and then you can play. But it's best to get all the stakeholders together and get aligned on that. A. B, I think the other issue is kind of her and, watching her and this and the other and trying to get, a little bit of of the dynamics involved in her behavior of why she does this. Does she do it when she's feeling overwhelmed? Does she do it when, you know, she hasn't had enough structure? Does she do it? So we always want to have limits, but we always want to find out what's the underlying weakness or thing that we need to address as well. One of my favorite verses in the Bible is 8,000 verses. It talks about two things: grace and truth. So we want to, the grace would build her up to find out what need may be being expressed in this. It may be frustration from somewhere else, and she loves grandma, and grandma is so nice that grandma's become a great dumping ground. That could be it. But she's actually mad at somebody else. See,
Mm-hmm.
that can happen. So we kind of want to, want to have the boundaries and the limits, but we always want to do good kind of, why is this child acting this way? Because usually there's something motivating bad behavior as well. And then the third thing
Can I
is
interject?
Sally. Yeah, sure.
And in a 5-year-old mine, my husband said to her last week, he goes, "Why would you say something like that to grandma, to Grammy?" And she says, "Well, she doesn't wrestle with me like you do." I'm like,
Ah,
they men, she and I do crafts. We do all kinds of things she loves. Guys just do
yeah.
different things with little kids. That's just the
And
standard. She said,
and by that,
"Grammy doesn't wrestle."
but by that, does that statement mean, because I like wrestling better than crafts, So I'm bugged about that. Or does it mean you're stronger because you do wrestling things with me? Which did it mean? See, sometimes and this is a very important point. Sometimes, sometimes kids, and especially in characterological development, what happens is in the absence of limits, we all tend to regress. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And if she's not feeling enough strength come from grandma in her limits and boundaries and all that, she may feel she's getting a little regressed, and the wrestling may sort of contain her. I don't want to get off on a whole nother debate with a million
Kind of
people
makes
here,
sense, though.
but
Mm-hmm.
it's sort of like a send me your opinions. I'm not endorsing this comment is not meant to endorse or whatever anybody or any particular persuasion, but it's sort of like the Caesar Milan dynamic with dogs.
Uh-huh.
How he
Yep.
comes into a scenario and the dogs are out of control, and he comes in and says, okay, let's, and there's a little firmness, and the dogs all of a sudden start to behave. Well, there's a thing about structure. Okay, I'm not talking about,
Mm-hmm.
dominating, but there's a thing about structure that really helps calm children and adults down. We need that. So she may be needing a little more limit setting from you, just maybe. Okay? Got to go
Mm-hmm.
to some other
Okay.
callers, but that would be some initial ways.
Hey,
And
thank you
and
so
the
much.
other thing is this. Grandma has a voice in this too, and
Mm-hmm.
you're a human. You're a person. And you can look at that child and you can say, "You know what? I don't like to be talked to that way. And I don't play with people that talk to me that way. So if you're going to talk to me that way, then we're not going to be playing until you come say you're sorry. And then I'll play with you."
Okay. Okay.
She needs to
It's
learn
good.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good for
Thank
her.
you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you for your call.
I appreciate it.
Oh gosh. You know, there's so much in that call. So much good. So much good. Grandparents, some of you, I feel for you because you're doing way more than you ought to be doing because you basically had to step in and be the full parent in some scenarios. And there are other grandparents that, um, and I'm not on anybody's case when there's really good reasons, but if you are not involved in your grandchildren's lives, and you could be, and you're not, and you're you're really missing out. You're really missing out on a number of levels. I've heard so many adult children who things, the relationship with their own parents, they wish they would have had different, or their parents would have been different than they were. They might have been too harsh back then, or they might have been too involved with work or whatever. And they look back and they really missed out on some key parenting. But then they watch their parents as grandparents with their children, and they'll say, they're totally different. They're such better grandparents than they were parents. My father never got down on the floor and played games with me like that. And in a healed, non-bitter adult child, that becomes very, very healing in many, many cases. They're so grateful for that. And they get to see their parents in a different light. So some of you grandparents are missing out not only on your own grandchildren, but you're also missing out on some blessings that you could have from being uh, vicariously reparenting your own children as they watch you parent in the way that they wish they had gotten. Anyway, intergenerational ties, so important, so important. And I'm telling you that as a guy that really talks about boundaries with generations, that your marriage ought to be sacred and your parents shouldn't be controlling your marriage. Okay. But at the same time, that doesn't mean we don't have relationships with parents as adults. You need them, they need it. Society needs it. The children need it. The dogs need it. Everybody needs as great of intergenerational ties as we can get.